In today's English lesson, we are going to read a Dawn news article together. This advanced lesson will focus on the very essential vocabulary and grammar you need to know, not only to fully to understand this article, but to participate in the culture of the English-speaking world. So we will analyze each paragraph. Finally, at the end of the lesson, I read the articles one more time a little faster at a natural speed so you focus on my pronunciations and intonations. So welcome back to Smile English Learn. Of course, I'm Zeeshan. So get less started. That first headline is that failed martial law. That background history is that the failed martial law attempt and subsequent establishment of military rules had a profound impact on South Korean politics and society. The period was marked by human rights abuses, censorships, and suppressions of dissent. However, it also laid the groundwork for the country's eventual transitions to democracy in the late 1980s. That first paragraph is that evidently freedom has its consequences. After transitioning to a democratic system of governance in the late 1980s, fostering a world class education system and rapidly building a robust economy, the South Koreans seems to have lost their ability to execute a routine coups. That evidently, important word evidently transitionings. A democratic systems robust have lost executes a routine scope. Evidently is that clearly and obviously, apparently and seemingly. Transitionings refer to the process of changing or moving from one stage, or conditions to another. This can apply to various aspects of life. Robust. Robust is that advancing strength and health. Strong, often especially both large and healthy. For example, he was a robust man of 6 feet 4. Have lost. Which kind of sentence? Present perfect tense. The present perfect tense is used to describe an action that started in the past and continues up to the present moment. It is formed using the auxiliary verb have to has. For example, I have lost my keys. A democratic system pertaining to democracy constructed upon in line with the principle of government chosen by the peoples. For example, the United States is a democratic country and the citizens are allowed to choose leaders to represent their interest. Execute is there to carry out or put into effect a plan, order, or decisions, to perform or do something, especially a task or duty. Routine is that a course of actions to be followed regularly and standard procedures. Habit, want, and rituals. Coup, sudden and violent overthrow. Sudden size of power. Overthrow, revolutions, uprisings, insurrections, and takeover. For example, the coup's leaders imposed martial law on the country. Second paragraph is one was still figuring out how to say my dear countries in Korean when hastily imposed martial law on Tuesday night was abruptly and unceremoniously undone. How could a democracy so young fail at something so simple? The country is no stranger to martial law and coups. from the establishment of the Republic of Korea on August 15, 1948. It was ruled for some 40 years under the military authority and systems with repeated phrases of martial law. However, since the South Koreans forced their last military dictator to accept presidential systems in the 1987, this seems to have grown a quiet fond of being democratically ruled. That important meaning is that figuring out, hastily imposed, abruptly, unceremoniously, it was ruled military authoritarian system. That figuring out is that reasonings are logic. The news email system takes some figuring out, but you will soon notice the improvement. To understand or comprehend some things, to solve a problem or puzzles. Hastily. Hastily in a hasty manner or quickly hurriedly. Sounds shortly, quickly. Imposed to imply enforce or establish something often regarded as burdensome, as a restrictions of tax with authority. Congress imposed new tariffs abruptly, suddenly, and unacceptedly, often in surprising or shocking manner. Unceremoniously is that in an unceremonious manner, abruptly without the due formalities, encountering difficulties with the parcel's unhelpful recipient, the delivery man unceremoniously dumped the package in the street outside the door. Sudden, abrupt, hastily. It was ruled which kind of sentence the passive voice is grammatical construction where the subject and sentence receives the action described by the verb. The simple past tense is used to describe an actions that occurred at a specific point in the past. It was ruled that the company would pay damage. A military authoritarian system is a form of government where the military and authoritarian elements combine to exercise control over the state and society. Phrases of refer to the different stages or period of development, growth, or progressions of something. Phases of developments, planning phases, defining goals and objectives and strategies. Next paragraph. The power of validate martial law rests with the South Korean National Assembly, which was absolutely not inclined to agree with their president's decisions. The President Party and the PPP of our People Power Party to avoid any disambiguations has since demanded that his cabinet take responsibility and resign. They have specifically asked for the defense minister's head. The president secretaries have already resigned. It is unclear at the moment if the PP will also ask Mr. Yoon to leave the party. That important word is that validate, rest, absolutely inclined to agree with disambiguations. It is unclear at the moment if the PPP will also ask to Mr. Yoon to leave the party. Validate. Validate is there to render or valid, to check or prove, or validity of verify, to have its validity successfully proven. Rest can be used to in very context to remain or stay in place or positions. The book rests on the tables. Absolutely, completely, totally, entirely. without any doubts or reversations. Inclined to, having a tendency, dispositions of leanings towards some things, prone to, tending to, agree with, to have the same opinion or views or positions as someone or some things. The important synonym is that concord with, support, endorse, align with. Disambiguations, the process of clarifying or distinguish between multiple meanings, interpretations, or sense of word, phrases, or symbols. Clarifications. It is unclear at the moment if the PP will also ask Mr. Yun to leave the party. It is an example of the present simple tense, specifically used to express uncertainty or doubt about future actions. It is unclear. It is in the present simple tense and indicating a current state of uncertainty. If the PP will also ask, is the future simple tense indicating potential future of actions? The next paragraph. The president already faces impeachment for his hugely unpopular move, and the country's Supreme Court will also be examining whether his decision to issue the martial law order fulfilled procedural formalities. The role of South Korean military has also come across as a rather strange. That important word is that impeachment. Impeachment will be examining procedural formalities and come across. Impeachment. Impeachment is that countables the act of calling into a question or challenging the accuracy of or propriety of some things. Deprecations will be examining. The future continuous tense is used to describe an action that will be in the progress or a specific point in the future. It indicates that the action will start before the specified times and will continue up to that point. The future continuous tense is formed. For example, they will be examining the evidence tomorrow. Examining. Examine refer to the process of carefully and thoroughly investigating, scrutinizing, or analyzing some things. Investigating, analyzing. Procedural refer to the steps of method or process followed in a particular situations, organization, or system. It involves the rules, protocols, and guidelines of govern how things are done. Formalities refer to the established rules, customs, and procedures that govern behaviors, interactions, and transactions in various. Come across is a phrasal verb that has several meanings depending on the context. To counters or meet someone or something. I came across an old friend at the party to give a certain impressions or appearance. She come across as very confident and outgoing. The next paragraph, the videos showed them struggling to break windows to storm the South Korean parliament, and they did not fire a single shot even when confronted with force by the ordinary citizens. Quite odd, especially in this corner of the world. Perhaps it is simply that more countries in our regions are now realizing the futility of rules by force. That important word struggling to break windows to storm fire confronted with quite odd futility. Struggling to means having heavy difficulty or facing challenges in achieving something. Break window to storm is a phrase that can be interpreted in different ways depending on the context. Here are few possible meanings: forcing entry, breaking windows to gain unauthorized access to building or vehicles. Confronted with means to a face or encounters a challenging situations, problems or person. It can also imply a sense of oppositions, conflict, direct encounter. Faced with, meet with. Quite odd is an expression that means something or someone is unusual, peculiar, unaccepted. It can imply a sense of surprise, curiosity, or even concerns. Futility refers to the state of being useless and effective or futile. It can describe a situation's actions and effort that pointlessness and effectiveness. The next paragraph is that take Bangladesh for example, where the military quietly stepped aside after Sheikh Hasina government was overthrown to make way to the interim government. It was also like the Bangladeshi military did not have both presidents and excuse aplenty to take over the country for another tenure, but their general seems to have realized in time and it would be fully to attempt to subjugate the people to at so critical a junctures in this history. That important word is that stepped aside, overthrown to make way in trims, did not have presidents excuses aplenty to take over, tenor seems to realized in it would be fully to attempt to subjugate and juncture. Step it aside. Step it aside to move out of the way or relinquish our position's role or responsibility. To withdraw or design from a situation often a for allow someone else to take over. Overthrown to be removed from power or positions, often suddenly or forcibly. To be defeated or toppled, often by revolutions or coups of uprisings. Make way allowing someone or something to take priority or have an opportunity. Interim, a temporary or provisional period, situation and arrangement. Did not have. Which kind of sentence? Simple past tense. Simple past tense is used to describe completed action in the past, past habits or routines, past states or conditions. The simple past tense is former using did auxiliary verb. For example, I did not have breakfast this morning. Presidents, previous intenses decisions are events that swear as a guide, model, or standard a future actions or decision. Excuses, reasons, or explanations given to justify or explain something, often to avoid blame, responsibility, or consequences. Justifications. A plenty in abundance or insufficient quantity. Plentifully, abundantly, amples. Take over to assumes control, responsibility, or possessions of something, often from someone else. Assume controls. Tenure, a period of time during which someone holds a job, office, or positions. Fully, a foolish or absurd action, decision, or idea. Subjugate, to bring someone or something under control or dominations, often by force or coercion. Juncture, a critical or decisive point in time, after making a turning point or a moment of significant change. Realized in. Realized in is a phrase that means to become aware of, understand something in a particular context or situations. It would be is an example of a condition tense, especially the second conditions. Conditional sentence tense is used to describe hypotheticals or uncertain situations and their potential consequences. For example, it would be nice if it did not rain tomorrow. Attempt to means to try or make an effort to do something, often with an uncertain outcomes. Seems to is a phrase that indicates a tentative or uncertain observations, suggestions or conclusion. Appears to look like, apparently. That next paragraph, it would be constructive for other struggling democracies to also take note. The appetite, satisfactions or pleasures for non-democratic system of governance appears to be shrinking rapidly, even in countries which have seen protracted periods of military rules. Political science suggests this may simply be a consequence of the process of social evaluations. That important word is that constructives appetite, not democratic, to be shrinking rapidly. Protracted may simply be consequences of that constructive, helping or build or improve some things, providing useful suggestions or feedback. Appetite a natural desire or cravings for food or drinks. A strong interest or enthusiasm for something such as hobby or activity. Not democratic, a system of government or decision making that does not prioritize democratic principles. A lack of democratic institutions possesses our values. To be is an infinitive verb phrase which a non-infinitive verb form. Not have tense in the same that way infinitive verbs. Present infinitive to be can express a general or universal truth. To be happy is to be content. That shrinking, becoming smaller in size, amount, or degree, reducing or decreasing something rapidly, happening or done quickly or promptly, moving or progressing swiftly, protracted, lasting or continuing for a long time, often longer with accepted or desired, extended or prolonged, often due to delays, difficulties or complexities. Maybe is an example of a present tense, specifically the modal verb may use to express possibility or uncertainty. May is a modal verb that is used to express possibility. It may rain tomorrow. Permissions. You may go now. Uncertainty. He may be late. Present tense. The present tense is used to describe actions or state that are true at the moment of a speaking. It may be raining outside. For example, it may be raining outside. Consequences of resulting from or following as a logical effect or something. Results of outcomes of. So the detailed pronunciations that read articles. Failed martial law evidently freedom has its consequences after transitioning to democratic system of governments in the late 1918. Fostering a world-class education system and rapidly building a robust economy, the South Koreans seems to have lost their ability to execute to routine scopes. One was still figuring out how to say my dear countries in Korean when President Yoon Suk Yeol's hastily imposed martial law on the Tuesday night was abruptly and unceremoniously undone. How could a democracy so young fail at something so simple? The country is a stranger to martial law and coups. From the establishment of the Republic of Korea on August 15, 1948, it was ruled for some 40 years under a military authoritarian system. With repeated phrases of martial law, however, since the South Koreans forced their last military dictator to accept a presidential system in 1987, they seems to have grown a quite fond of being democratically ruled. The power of validate martial law rests with the South Korean National Assemblies, which was absolutely not inclined to agree with their president's decisions. The president party, the PPP of People Power Party, to avoid any disambiguations, has since demanded that his cabinet take responsibility and resign. They have specifically asked for the defense minister head. The president secretaries have already resigned. It is clear at the moment if the PP will also ask Mr. Yoon to leave the party. The president already faces impeachment for his hugely unpopular move, and the country's Supreme Court will also be examining whether his decision to issue the martial law orders fulfill procedural formalities. The role of South Korean military also has come across as rather strange. Videos shows them struggling to break windows to storm the South Korean parliament, and they did not fire a single shot even when confronted with force by ordinary citizens. Quite odd, especially in this corner of the world. Perhaps it is simply that more countries in our regions are now realizing the futility of rule by force. Take, take Bangladesh for example, where the military quietly stepped aside after Sheikh Hasina government was overthrown to make way from the interim government. It was not likely the Bangladeshi military did not have both presidents and excuses aplenty to take over the country for another tenure. But their general seems to have realized in time that it would be folly to attempt to subjugate the people at so critical juncture in their history. It would be constructive for other struggling democracies to also take note. The appetite for not democratic system of government appears to be shrinking rapidly. Even in countries which have seen protected period of military rules, political science suggests this may simply to be a consequences of the process of social evaluations. So please subscribe this channel and share, and if you like these videos, please uh, motivate me. So thank you very much.